Live.
Hey.
Hello. I'm gonna change clothes here a minute.
Hey.
Let's see.
Hey everyone.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up? We're over here at OMG ULTRA, contemplating the secrets of the universe and reality itself. Today we're going to be talking about globalism and globalist agendas, techno-feudalism. You know, with everything going on in Unity, I think this is an important topic for us to discuss. Now, well, what are your thoughts about globalism and like techno-feudalism and the overreach of corporations and culture into places? Like, is globalism good or is it bad?
I think something you touched upon earlier, before we started streaming, made sense about just how, you know, we don't know the effect that will have in, I guess, exportation and imports and, you know, like all that traveling and shipment and like that seems like a lot of a lot of emissions, right? To me, I don't know, it seems like we probably have to find some balance between nationalism and globalism because it's just kind of happening naturally with technology. We're getting more and more connected, but in turn we have to kind of offset that and keep the balance by kind of observing how we operate as individuals and how much we consume, how sustainable our lifestyles are, if we're supporting our local communities before buying stuff from far away. So I think of just like simple things like that. But on a bigger scale, I have no idea if, you know, if it's good or bad. It just kind of seems like that's what's happening.
How do you think we can find a balance?
Me or Woofer?
Anyone who's got whoever wants to answer.
I want to hear the machine elf's opinion.
Yeah, tell us.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is, I think when we have smaller societies, things work better and are easy to take care of and manipulate. But as we've gotten bigger and bigger, it becomes more and more complicated. Like 200 years ago, we didn't care about what happened in Argentina or Brazil or Australia or anywhere. We didn't even know where those were, you know. But now everything's tied together and everything's more interconnected, thanks to the internet, probably. That we're all connected so much, and the world's gotten so big that it's becoming harder and harder to manage, I think. And I think that's the problem. But I don't think it's good to just have a small number of people in charge of everything.
Yeah, I don't think they
I think maybe it still has to be divided a little bit, maybe like the UN. Now, I don't like the UN, but maybe have each country have a representative of some kind so that they can work things out like this, you know, and instead of just having things happen beyond your control.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I think that I think maybe like it's about holding on to the cultures we do have right now and not letting them get in a sense eroded. And cultures are like these big self-perpetuating things that live on like a different dimension of like reality, and like we're just like carrying it around. We're like little beacons of it. And I think, you know, like some people might say that culture is not your friend, and it's not your friend at all, you know. I think culture is a tool, in a sense. It's a tool for self-actualization, and it helps you kind of like hold on to who you are as like the waves of life push against you. One thing I think, like, maybe like all we really have to do is just focus on the kids, you know? Make sure like the kids are actually like like for example, as an Arab, right? And then I see like people in the West, like people who are also Arabic like me, right? And they're children of Arabs, right? But the problem is that like I see them getting their culture washed away, and they lose pride in like what they are, who they are, where they come from. They don't even care anymore. It's just like it's like oh yeah, I'm Spanish, I'm Russian, but I don't care about that. I didn't have a choice, so I don't care about it. It's like you did have a choice.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have like picked it. Like you wouldn't have been who you are. Like it's all interconnected. It's like one thing. Without the culture that you have, you're not you. You're not anything. You're like it's so. Yeah,
Preserving family lineages can teach you so much about your own biology too, and health, and just so many lessons from every culture has their own ways of dealing with life and farming and building and spirituality, and all of that can teach us things to live better and to share with our friends, and likewise our friends who are different from us have things from their cultures they can share with us. So it's really important to preserve all these things and to make sure we share them through our art, or just by sharing stories. Everything doesn't have to be technological. Like imagine all the belief systems and societies that were preserved just based on word of mouth, like these recipes and fables and all these cool things we still talk about today, just because people were sitting around a campfire like this and talking and sharing.
I think go
ahead.
Bro. No,
I was just gonna say, I think individual cultures are beautiful, and we need to take care of them, and because, like Oli was saying, if you lose your culture, you lose your identity as a people, which comes from hundreds of years of passing on ideas and beliefs, and if you lose that, like there's people in the United States, younger people, who can't even tell you the capital, they can't tell you how many states there are, they can't even tell you what continent they're on, because they're so globalized that they don't even think about that.
But here's the thing, man. I did like second grade, third grade, and fourth grade in America, in the U.S., and they taught me all this stuff, bro. I was that kid, man, that would like stand up first when it was like I can't remember what was it. I can't remember the American one. What's the American anthem, guys? Come on. American anthem.
Star Spangled Banner.
Or
Star Spangled Banner.
Star Spangled Banner.
I can't remember which one it was. Like, if you
say,
that's it. Oh, say, can you see?
Star Spangled Banner.
No.
Yeah.
Pledge of Allegiance is the pledge.
Yeah. What's the pledge? There was this like.
It's called the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's exactly it. I pledge allegiance to the flag. No. And then there was this
United
like.
States of America.
Yeah, there was
to the
this
republic for which we stand, one nation under God, indivisible. I mean, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And we had an American flag in every classroom.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't long ago like that. It's like recently changed what they teach in schools, and that's.
Yeah, I bet they don't even have American flags in classrooms anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I haven't been to a school in a long time.
Yeah, I think.
But I mean.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, cultures are so valuable.
Yeah, they really are.
Like Aborigines, from what I've heard, they don't have written history. They just pass it down from family to family, and so I don't know. Maybe it's up to us to pass on our cultures online. I mean, just preserve them by, instead of talking one-to-one, just creating websites and creating discussion groups and whatever we can to keep us all from becoming one homogenous mess. One generic who knows what.
And like,
I think that would be very sad.
You guys know Carl Jung and the archetypes, right? The heroes, journey, how there are these human templates, archetypes that are like ingrained in us, and culture is an expression of these, right? It's these archetypes being expressed in different ways based on the circumstances and the context in which the humans live and the need for what they need, right? And without that, like, you know, that's like this, the human soul right there. That's like,
Yeah.
like, do you guys know what I'm trying to like get at? Culture is an expression of the human soul. And if we don't have like many of them, then we're in trouble. We're in trouble. Like, I think, you know,
like that.
we become
Cultures are
very-
different.
Our soul becomes like very easily, you know, it's like you can easily poke a stick at it, but when it's many, you know, they can just move away,
Soulless.
right? So I think
Yeah.
that's like very, very important. I think it's so important that we preserve as many cultures as we can.
There are also really
love-
bad things from every culture that can teach us and
Sure.
are necessary to preserve so we don't repeat them, you
Yes.
know? Like we want
Yeah.
to evolve and we want to become better and more peaceful as a world so that we can introduce ourselves to the universal, you know, the universal citizens. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to evolve, but we don't want to repeat the stuff that the lessons we already had to learn, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
that's
sad
the importance
how
of history,
we
too.
always repeat them, though.
You have to
know?
learn from the
But
past.
we never do. We always repeat the same cycle over and over.
Yeah, I know.
Again. It's because
If
we
we learn from the
die
past,
and
there
then
wouldn't be
our
war
kids are
anymore.
born. You know, and they, you know, and they're, you know, haughty and arrogant, and like, you know how kids are these days, and you know how you were, how everyone was. Oh yeah, I'm 20 years old. I'm never gonna die.
I know everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think you know
it's
everything.
beautiful.
And
You know nothing at all. Right?
Hmm.
It's best to act like you don't know anything than to act like you know everything. Because when you act like you don't know everything, it's always a surprise where the rabbit pops out from next. You never know where he's gonna pop up.
Mm-mm.
You can spear him and then, you know, lunch, dinner.
Yeah.
I
You know,
love
when I go
rabbit.
to
It's so good.
go to another country, I want to just I want to immerse myself in the culture. I want to learn how people live locally, and like I've visited countries like, you know, Germany, which isn't that totally different, and England, and they say, "What do you want to do today?" I said, "You know, I just want to do what you do. Whatever you do, I don't care what it is. If you're going to the laundry, you're going to do laundry. I'm going to go do laundry because I want to learn how people here live, and I want to immerse myself in whatever's going on locally.
Yeah.
I don't want to, you know, go to McDonald's and sit around all day and come home and listen to American radio and that kind of thing.
You make me think
Experience
of
something
like,
different.
Like, I don't know, I can't remember what it's actually called, but I think it's something relation theory, where it's like you need something to, like, for example, when I see artwork, right? I look at the artwork. It's only when I know, like, some background about the artwork, who the artist is, that I can, like, start to appreciate it in a sense, because the more I
Yeah.
know someone else's art, or in a sense someone else's culture, right, the more I know about myself, because I have, like, a comparison. I think that's really important. I mean, I don't know what life would be like without that. If we didn't have, like, cultures to, like, compare ourselves to learn from, where would we be?
Yeah.
What would a one
It's
world
hard to
culture
understand.
look like? Oh yeah, Hollywood.
Oh,
I think we're
man.
already living in
Yeah, Hollywood.
yeah, Hollywood, McDonald's.
It's hard to understand art unless you know pretty much about art too. I mean, you have to look for something recognizable to really tie it to your own reality. Because I remember at the art museum, well, I went to an art academy that was connected to the art museum, so I was there constantly, and they were taking a tour through there. You had a bunch of school kids, and they passed this big mural, and in which, if you've ever seen Murrow's stuff, it's pretty abstract. It's just little shapes and blobs and things. And the teacher said, "See this? Doesn't that look just like Snoopy?" And all the kids go, oh yeah. You know, now they get it. You know, they're Snoopy. Something I can understand. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of abstract shapes that don't mean anything to them. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I'm thinking about that in the sense of culture. How, like, you know, even though all our cultures are different, right? When we look at a culture, we always look for the similarities, you know, that it has, because then we can't relate to it. And they all have
That's
similarities.
human
They're
nature.
all the same, yeah.
You have to have something to ground yourself in. It's just something if you went to somewhere or immerse yourself in a culture that was totally alien to you, it would be really hard. You know what really hard to adapt, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, if
like
you didn't have the language, you didn't have the
slapping
same...
themselves in the face when they say hi.
Yeah, or kicking themselves in the groin when they want to say goodbye or something like that. Okay, I get it. I'm going. I'm leaving.
Tell me about your culture.
My culture.
Yeah, describe it.
Well, I grew up in the suburbs around musicians mostly. My dad was a musician. I had 9 uncles who were all musicians or DJs or some, you know, in the music business somehow. So that was my environment, I think, when I was growing up. As far as the kids in the neighborhood and stuff, I had a hard time because we first moved into the first house we owned. Every time I'd go outside, the kids would beat me up.
Why?
Until, I don't know, for nothing. And I ran inside one day, and I said, Mom, these kids just constantly beat me up. She says, well, get back out there and beat them up, you know, get back out there and fight back. So that was the culture I was growing up in. You either, you know, fought or you got kicked. You know, you got your ass kicked. You had to take care of yourself. So I learned that really fast. And yeah, that's the kind of culture I grew up in. Musical kick-assing.
Cool. Very fascinating.
So I learned to stay inside. Okay, end of story.
Good things, bro. Oli, tell us about your culture.
Let's see. I think about food immediately. I think about harina, like cornmeal. I think about guayaba queso, like pastries,
Yum.
pastelitos. I think about plantains, chicken and rice, arroz con pollo. I think about rice pudding, arroz con leche, coffee, café con leche. There's like so many food and drink things that are part of my family's culture, and they had to leave Cuba as refugees, and they weren't able to bring any kind of heirlooms or family history or pictures or anything like that. This is just one half of my family, but they brought all their recipes and food, so we always had that, and we had chickens and fruit trees, and always were working on the land and working constantly. Like, we were very resourceful people, Cubans. And on my dad's side, he's a martial artist, and we did a lot of martial arts and fighting, and mixed kind of, like, we did jiu-jitsu, that's this Portuguese side, and then we did karate, and so a lot of MMA, just totally mixed stuff.
Wow, that's awesome.
But yeah, it's very, very different cultures, but we all always loved music, all different kinds, because, you know, just being in America, being in a melting pot like that, you hear music all over the place. Definitely got beat up, definitely beat up some kids, got in a lot of fights because, you know, there's always the Cuban kids, you know, that, you know, can't speak English, and then there's the Mexican kids, there's the white kids, and wherever you live, you know, there's all these kids are kind of can't figure each other out, you know, so they might not feel safe at home either. So all they know how to do is fight. But if you can grow up out of that, I think it makes you value love and peace so much more because you've experienced violence. You know where it can lead, and it's scary and sad. It's sad that Hollywood, like, there's a lot of all sorts of great movies, even violent ones that I love. I love all sorts of movies, but I think a lot of the stuff depicted in movies and stuff, no one's ever experienced that, so that's another important reason that every individual needs to share their story, because for someone who's really, really experienced violence and trauma and, it's nothing like Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
There's no glory in it. It's not appealing. And it's amazing to see all these stadiums filled for these mixed martial arts fights where guys just like beat the tar out of each other, and it's almost like akin to
Close to
like
death.
gladiators in the Colosseum, right? Like it's very borderline, but yet we still accept it as entertainment. And you don't know where these guys come from. You don't know what they're fighting for and why they need money so badly, but does that make it okay for them to beat each other's brains out? Like I think it's good to just try to consider everyone's perspective.
That's really interesting. That's
When we were kids and we were beating each other up all the time, it was just sort of lighthearted. We weren't trying to really kill each other or anything. It was just sort of horseplay. And all the kids I used to fight when I was growing up are now my best friends.
Yeah.
And it ended up a few years after we worked our differences out, I guess, or whatever, just let out some energy. And there wasn't any, bad feelings about it. It was just something to do.
Yeah.
I think we were just bored.
I think it's a guy thing too. Like I have the same thing.
Yeah.
Like
I think it is.
I've gotten into a lot of fights with people, like really like bad fights, and then afterwards we're like, after we work everything out, there's this like kind of like respect between us in a sense, where we kind of like appreciate
it's weird.
each other.
It's hard to
like,
explain.
I think it's because like at the end of the day, like it's you appreciate someone who can stand up for himself, right? It means he's able to have your back. Like one time, Oli, you're doing like a bit of like a stutter there, so it's all good though. I understand.
What is a crackling? Is that Ollie crackling?
No, she's having like
Okay.
One time, bro.
I'm muted.
Oh, okay. You're good now.
Oh.
You're having like.
Is it still?
No, it's gone. It's good.
Everything's
It's
good now.
Yeah. One time I was in Saudi Arabia, and like this is like an interesting fight because like I don't know, like I wasn't expecting this. Like basically there was this prince guy. I was in a school where there was like a lot of princes, and my parents were like, we're gonna put you in a school with a lot of princes. It must be good. It's gotta be good. And bro, it was not good. It was a joke. Like because like they're like they're like these guys are princes, right? So they can do whatever they want, and it kind of like bleeds out into everybody else, in a sense, right?
Oh my God,
so it's
scary.
like it's like so anyway, like the story is like this guy, his name is Badr Al Saud, right? I went to the bathroom. It was a really dumb fight, but like it was kind of like a fight that was waiting. You know what I mean? It was kind of building up, like you know what I mean? And then like it was like boom, now it's time to fight. Let's get this over with. So I went to the bathroom, and then he came back and he took my seat. I was like, yo, you took my seat, man. He's like, so what? I was like, okay. And then and then he took my book. He took my book and my pen, and he started to write notes, like in my book. I was like, bro, like that's my book and pen. What are you doing? He's like, what do you want? I need to write notes. This guy, like, he was like a wild guy. He was a wild guy. He was great. Like
Sounds insane.
I mean, it's not even like a big deal. I mean, it's just in class. But like, I was like, okay, all right, you can have my book. You can have my pen. I'm not gonna do anything. But the one thing, and this is what I told him. It's like the one thing I am gonna do. I can't say it, but I basically made an insult towards his mom.
Yeah.
Right. then he got up, and then, you know, he pushed me, I pushed him, we fought, bing, boom, 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 boom. He's like, told me, I'm gonna kill you, and you know, like, this guy is a prince, right? Like, he could actually do it. Like, he walked around with a security guard, you know, who had a gun and all this stuff. And then everyone was like scared because like this guy would actually do it, right? This guy, you know. Anyway, long story short, you know, we worked out our problems. I said I was sorry, and then he said he was sorry. Of course, I had to say I was sorry first, right? He's not gonna say sorry first. Right? And then you know, after that. But then after that, yo, we were like really good friends. He invited me to, like, over there they have like these things called a mezra, where it's basically just like this place in the middle of the desert, and you know, there's like a fire, and you know, you have tents, and you know, you can just sit back and you can see the stars and everything. So he invited me over there, and I met his dad, and we drank camel milk, and then, you know, we smoked some hash, me and him, and we were like, you know, like, yo, I was like, wow, man, like, I was gonna like kill you, bro. And he was like, me too. We became really
isn't that funny
good
how you
friends,
can you can fight like that and end up being friends? Is this a, I guess it is a guy thing, because I didn't see too many girls in the neighborhood killing each other.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like
they were pretty peaceful.
I can't explain it. Like, so, like, you know, like it's just I think testosterone.
Bonding. Maybe it's a bonding exercise or something. You know, it's just like
evolution. At its
Yeah, I haven't
finest.
heard about too many female serial killers.
Yeah,
that's
true.
interesting.
Interesting. That's actually an interesting point. Why aren't there a lot of why are there more male serial killers? I guess because men are.
We need
violent.
equal opportunity for female
exactly.
killers. Come, somebody's got to fix that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like women, maybe they're just not caught or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
They're let go a lot of times. And, they're a nice person.
I've never met a woman
look at how
with the desire to
many,
kill anyone, but I've met a lot of men with it.
Look how many women
each other.
teachers, need end up being child molesters. You know, with their students.
What?
I mean, there's a lot of that.
Really?
Going on.
I thought it was just the priests. I never heard anything about that.
Men too.
No, it's
I mean, I think
women teachers and
Really?
men teachers too,
child
I guess.
teachers.
Oh wow.
I think damn, yeah.
Let's just
Pedophiles are gonna find any kind of job, you know, like to hurt kids. Like,
Yeah, screw those guys. Fucking
horrible.
weirdos. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back on the topic, right? Oli,
Okay.
WooferBlast, I really appreciate you guys sharing your culture with me. Oli, you've made me like look at this whole thing in like completely different way. Like, yeah, violence is abhorrent. Honestly, like, you really like changed my outlook on it in a sense. A little bit.
I think
was
it's important
glorifying
to
it, in a
know
sense.
how to fight. And like I really respect fighting, and I still like MMA and but you know, just trying to think of it from like the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
It like obviously like you have
why
to
are
protect
we-
yourself, and because there are sociopaths and people who just want to hurt people and dominate the world, right?
Yeah.
So we just have to make sure that we always try peace first, right? Or else violence just spreads like a virus.
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
does. Yeah. Thank you, WooferBlast and Oli. Now I'm gonna share my culture
You're
with
welcome.
you. Okay, my culture.
Okay.
The first thing I think about is like when I think of like a desert, and then I like think of like a guy, like a tent, and a guy just like standing up looking at like the sky. Like, the thing is that like as like a, I don't know, maybe it's just me, because like there's a lot of like religion and like faith in a sense. Like a lot of Muslims are kind of born into that thing. I don't think I'm the only one. I grew up with a lot of tales from like, you know, like the prophets and like the Bible and like the Quran and stuff, and like a lot of them are like the same. And yeah, religion plays like a huge aspect, like when it comes to like the culture of Arabia. It's like I can't even like begin to describe it. It's, well, I think everyone can understand it, but it's like this whole idea of faith, you know, faith in God and like faith. Yeah. That's like that's kind of it. That's like how I can describe my culture. I think faith. Yeah, I like that. Faith.
I forgot
That's
that
cool.
part. Yeah, I was in church every Sunday, and was a big part of the church. I grew up Methodist, which is it's a type of Protestant.
Oh.
We don't do anything special, but yeah, I was an acolyte in the church, which is the guy would be on stage and light the candles and do all the little things to get ready. And I went to vacation Bible school, and I was in Bible school every Sunday, and so I got a lot of that as I was growing up.
Do you
That
feel
probably
like it's like
affected
kind
me
of
in a lot of
ingrained
ways.
in your culture, the symbolism?
I think
like
somewhere along the line, I think you just learn a
Right there.
basic right and wrong.
but they're all
You know,
symbols,
just some basic
right?
fundamentals.
In each religion, it's all just symbols. Symbols for something that's
Yeah.
universal. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
How about you,
Yeah,
Oli?
I think.
What did you grow up as?
I had a lot of kind of church and Christianity. We're mainly just taught the Bible, and I read it like 3 times and had to memorize a bunch of it
Yeah, me
and do
too.
debates and yeah. I was deep into it, and I think I kind of learned some Confucianism too, just from the Chinese side. Just a lot of just about order and philosophy, and I kind of ended up liking the Eastern beliefs a little better, and now I'm kind of more into Taoism. But yeah, I definitely had like a lot, there was a lot of ancestry kind of vibes in my family, but it was very Christian, and my family, like my parents would never admit to anything else, right? But my grandmother was Santeria, right? So that's like witchcraft, and
Oh,
then
cool.
there's another
She was
grandma
like a
who
shaman?
was,
Your grandmother was like a shaman?
yeah, in a
Can you
way,
tell
she
me
was like
more
a
about that?
medicinal,
Ignore
she
that
made
phone.
medicines and stuff like natural medicines and teas and
Wow.
just things like that. But she was also a really strong Catholic. It's kind of like a mix, right, of voodoo
Yeah.
and Catholicism.
Yeah, it's a mix.
So,
Yeah, it's got some Catholicism.
Yes,
in it.
and then I had a grandfather who was from Oklahoma, like a step grandfather, and he just believed in like aliens, and he was an atheist, and he taught me a lot too. So I kind of sucked in everything around me like a sponge, and
That's awesome.
learned from everything, you know?
Yeah. Learning from everything.
You know-
If we don't have things to learn from,
mean-
then how can we learn? We need cultures. We need to learn from each other, from differences and similarities.
And it made me think about how prophets, you know, in every religion, whatever religion you believe in, I think they taught in parables, because that was the easiest way to teach people the things, the fundamentals. Because imagine, hundreds of years ago, or maybe thousands of years ago, whenever these religions were beginning to take form, people were just farmers. They were simple people. Most of them probably couldn't even read or write.
Yeah.
And they had to be taught in a way that they could understand. I think parables were the way to go. Instead
Wow.
of just, actually scientifically describing the beginning of the earth and, how this works and how that works. They just talked in general stories and parables because that was the easiest way to teach people.
Because they didn't have much to use. If we have one world
Yeah.
religion, we'll become just like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like think of like the concept of the kingdom of heaven, of nirvana. Like
Yeah.
think of like how actually
Oh.
abstract an idea is. Like if you're trying to describe that to someone who doesn't know anything about anything, right? That'd be difficult
Yeah.
to like
It's really difficult.
like nirvana, like in that one word you have the whole story of Siddhartha and suffering and Maya, and like the journey towards that nirvana, right? And yeah, I think like imagine one world religion would be terrible. It would be the worst thing in the world. It would make us so easy to control and manipulate.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, instead of seven deadly sins, we'd have this sins of the internet, or what? Sins of AI. AI says this. AI says that. If you don't do it, you get eliminated. Or you get wiped from the net. Your existence gets wiped out.
Yeah.
I was just talking with some friends yesterday about AI and ChatGPT and how it's just a conglomeration of so many ideas, and usually the quantity matters more than the quality, right? It's sharing popular ideas, so you lose so much nuance with that.
Yeah.
There are small groups of people that, like, imagine like cultures that are on tiny islands, like that have recipes for different things. Like they say in Cuba they have a vaccine for lung cancer. I don't know if that's true or not, but just imagine if we actually valued individuality and decentralization and people trying to make their own way, kind of like in a scientific sense, like experimental. Like we're like, oh, let them try that, and then we'll try this, which is kind of how the world is now, and then you can compare, right, and learn from each other. Because there's some things that are amazing in Cuba that I've been seeing since they've opened up to media a little more, but there's also really sad, heartbreaking things there. But it's the same with free market, you know, like there's so many cool, amazing things that happen, but there's also tragedy, you know, so we can learn from each other's mistakes and successes. But if you erase all that nuance, there's nothing else to learn. Like, what will we do? Will it literally be nirvana? Will it be peaceful and beautiful and just we know everything, we have Neuralink connected to our brain? I don't know.
Yeah.
If they block out anything that the AI doesn't agree with, or anything that popular opinion doesn't go along with, if they just block that out and silence it, we won't have any creativity, we won't have any innovation anymore, because everybody will just be doing what somebody else was already doing. They'll be afraid to try anything new or say anything different. That would be sad for sure.
Doesn't it feel though
and
like...
I think evolution is driven by mutation, right?
Yes.
And
Right, yeah.
differences.
Exactly.
Like those are really important.
By chance, by differences, yeah.
And chance
by differences
too, yeah.
coming together and creating something new. Yeah. Without that, then we can never create like
And
Tex-Mex,
adaptation
you know,
too.
like you know those like fusions of like, you know, you'll have like Chinese and Mexican food, and then they're like, you know, jumble it together, or like Arabic and Mexican food. Like, I love that stuff.
Oh my
It's always a
I'd love to
surprise.
try
That's how I cook. I just say I have some
What's
of this, I
good
have some of
Arab
that.
food?
What can I make?
Arab food?
Yeah.
Yeah, the best Arabic food,
Something we can get over here, maybe.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like something. I mean, just like it's like
Don't say
normal
snails.
food. It's like like
Yeah.
I don't know, kebab and rice. There's tabbouleh. Tabbouleh's good. Okay, I'm just gonna say. Oh, there's kibbeh. Kibbeh is great. There's fette, and there's shawarma, obviously. There's bazalia, kusa, mahshi. Oh, there's this one food. It's my favorite. I love it. It's kind of like, basically, I can't remember its name, but what they do, it's basically they take the intestines of a sheep, right? And then they spend like a week cleaning it out and everything. And then they turn that into sausages full of rice. And it's
That's
like,
what Scottish people do.
yeah, it's so good. It's like such a delicacy. And it's like, it's just
Haggis.
so, yeah.
That's what haggis is.
Really?
That sounds
Yeah,
good.
I think it's sheep's stomach,
Oh, yeah.
stuffed with meat and herbs and things like that. Yeah, that's what haggis is.
Yeah. And kebseh. And yeah, Arabic food is nice. And like in Canada, there's a lot of places where like right now you'll see like Arabic and Mexican food combined. And it's like, it's pretty good, you know what I mean? It's shawarma.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
sounds
like
good.
so similar, honestly. So like, the thing about Arabic food is it's kind of plain. I mean, compared to like something like Mexican food or like Indian food or even Chinese food. Arabic is just like the gist of it is is rice and meat. That's like all Arabic food.
Probably a bit healthier, right?
Yeah, I mean there is the whole Mediterranean diet, and like that's pretty healthy. But yeah, honestly, like most Americans, I find they don't realize how much like processed food they eat, right? And then like I'll compare what like I eat, and I think of it like as normal food, to what someone in like a typical American will eat, and they eat a lot of processed food, like a lot. Like it's like unbelievable how much processed food people eat. So that's like
Yeah, I prefer whole
Especially
foods,
fast
but
food.
I had a
Yeah.
bagel today, so
Bagels are great. you can't.
they're a little processed, but
They're
it was
delicious.
good.
They're so good.
I forget what I had. Must have been pretty bad.
Yeah, I
What did
just
I
had
have
like
today?
rice and chicken today. I've been having that
Oh,
a
it's
lot.
ravioli, cheese ravioli.
Oh, yummy ravioli. Yeah, culture
What?
food.
Good.
That's so good.
Like you were saying earlier, Oli, about how like your parents weren't able to bring anything over, but they were able to bring their food. And like I'm thinking about that. That's just such a powerful thing. Like you know, like the food of a
It's
culture.
a huge part of your culture.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like the very.
It's everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's the very soul of
It's
the culture.
sustenance.
Yeah.
Agriculture is the ultimate power. If you have the ability to use land and clean water, that's all you need. You're the richest person alive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So with all this civilization, we've seen trains, we've seen buildings and cities, and there's reasons for that too. Like as population grows, we need to condense things a little more. Like everyone can't have a piece of land, right? But if there's a way that we can marry the two things, if we can marry those two things though, like kind of like condensing things and leave enough room for wildlife and trees and, you know, forests,
What about-
rainforests, and eat less
How about
meat
having
and not
big community
mow down
gardens?
those forests, you know? I think that we could find a happy medium without being too extreme either way. But we've
Yeah.
got to be aware of it, you know, and aware that that's an option and that it's not all black and white, you know?
Yeah. It's so tempting to make things black and white. Gives you this feeling of like, you know the world, you have power over the world. It's so reassuring. It's a very, very perilous trap to fall into. Because once you do that, you become polarized. You become completely polarized.
What if we had big community farms? You know, like each community had a
communists tried
farm.
that.
Like we have
Communists tried
parks.
that,
You know,
okay.
we have parks. Why not farms?
I don't know.
Yeah, well,
man.
communism was a governmental strategy,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
maybe as a
Yeah.
more individualistic
from the ground
strategy, it
up.
would work
Or
with
grassroots.
yeah,
strategy.
like if you have communism as grassroots and then the government is more free market, you know, and what is it called in France? They say laissez-faire. How do you say it? Do you know? Laissez-faire, yeah.
It's a
I
free
think that
market
would work
economics.
because right now I feel like in America it's kind of the opposite in a way.
Really? You think like the
Um,
corporations are in control of the government? Or the government's in control of the corporation or something like that?
I don't know. There's a lot of lobbying,
Yeah.
and I feel like
lobbying, yeah.
there's just too many middlemen. I
Yeah.
think that people need to, you know, take power back just peacefully, you know, before getting mad and smashing windows and stuff like that. We
Yeah.
need to find a solution.
Yeah.
Of course, speak your mind always and protest if you need to, but there's always a middle path, right? There's always balance between the right and the left. That I like this Native American saying that I grew up hearing. It was there are there's a black wing and there's a white wing, or there's a left wing and a right wing, but it's the same bird.
Yeah, same bird.
So,
Yeah.
you know, divide and conquer, right?
Yep. Yeah. Like,
Everybody's
You know how
ideas
mu-
are valuable.
Yeah.
You know how many rules and regulations there are for farming anymore? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's to keep
I mean, they
the
have
power
so many.
away.
They have to use
You have
government
Bill
seed, and they
Gates,
have to,
like,
you
with his
know,
fake meat.
it's
He's buying
it's
up all the
almost not
farmland.
profitable at all.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Bill Gates buying all the farmland.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Do you guys
a
think
lot of farmers are
the
getting
culture of America, American culture, you think it's the best culture in the world? I think it's the best culture in the world, honestly. I'm just gonna throw
Really?
that out.
I think
Yeah, I mean,
it could be one
I
of
don't
them
think
because
so.
it's such a
I think
mixture.
they try to
Such a
profit off
mixture
of
of
every
things.
little
know, but,
thing.
like, I'm talking
and
about,
kind of
like-
charity is just obsolete.
Yeah, I know that's like America now. I mean the culture, the idea behind it, the idea that everyone has God-given rights, the right to pursue happiness, the right to freedom, the right to liberty, and the most important part is that these are God-given rights. Do you know in the charter of the UN, it doesn't say that at all. It's like man giving men rights. How does that even work? Like, you know, it's like we're men and we're deciding, yeah, you have the right to be free. It doesn't say anything about
Comes from royalty.
yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we're dictating your right to freedom and happiness. But I mean, in America, America's the only culture I've seen, you know, right now in like this entire world that literally says you have these God-given rights and nobody can take them from you and these are yours forever. Even religions don't have these, you know?
It even says, I believe, that the government can't give or take away rights.
Yeah.
These are, you know, like natural rights that you have.
Yeah,
Everybody
you
has.
have the right to protest. You know that right isn't included in the charter of the UN. You don't have the right to protest. The charter of the
Really?
UN, and they
Yeah, I
can
think
take your rights away.
They're trying to sue some American states for legalizing cannabis too.
Really? The UN?
Oh, no.
The UN's like trying
Yeah,
to sue?
recently.
Yeah,
Really?
We used to
That's
have a
crazy.
lot more states' rights.
Yeah.
States used, you know, the way the country was made was each state had
was
their
supposed to
own
be its
government, and they
own,
had
like
way
a
more
country,
control
yeah.
over their own. Yeah.
And then
Now
what
it's just
happened?
everything's
We have the
federally
80s to
controlled
thank for
now.
that. I think the 80s, you know, the big boom in the 80s, and then I don't know. It's just the same cycle over and over again. Literally, the same cycle over and over
Yeah.
again. Like we're literally
And
living
if the
Yeah,
states
it's
don't
in
go
the
along,
70s right now. Like it's the 70s.
When you think about, you said something about like we were talking about just like individual freedom and how we have to preserve our lineage, right? Our ancestry and our culture. That's what you said.
Yeah.
So it makes me think of that when you think in terms of government. There are so many people that fall by the wayside because they don't fit the constitutional freedom profile. You know, like it's changed so much over the years, but you know, it's only recently that if you're not a white man, that the Constitution applies to you.
Yeah, that's true.
So we've got to consider it kind of like in a equitable way that there are so many disabled people and you know, people that don't even speak English in this country, and like all those people have such valuable things to teach, and they're, you know, they help to keep everything afloat, and yet they fall by the wayside because we're not, you know, they don't fit in the constitutional rights. But it's crazy like how much people, like how many people aren't even citizens that are working so hard to keep the economy going, and they're hired especially because they're illegals.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
there's
true.
like whole camps.
Yeah.
Like if you look up photos of illegal camps, and these farmers are sometimes exported by ICE before they're even paid, like the
Wow.
little bit that they were promised after they do all the work. So there's something seriously wrong with that.
Yeah.
But there's
yeah.
like, you know, the ideal of it is great, but it does have to apply to everyone. I think
does.
there's hope for that still, but
that's what it says, doesn't it? It doesn't say anything about race. It
Yeah, I know, but
says
you know,
everyone.
I mean, it's like you know, now it comes
Nothing's
down
implied.
to the interpretation of the time, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so,
yeah, maybe.
right?
Yeah.
Like you know, back
yeah,
then,
I mean,
you
they
know,
had
when,
segregation.
yeah, they had slaves and stuff.
And that
but
wasn't
the-
just black and white, that was like Mexican people, that was
Yeah.
natives.
Constitution didn't say anything about slavery or segregation.
Yeah, but it kept itself
believe
vague enough so that you
But
could,
yeah,
apply
it was
Yeah.
still legal though.
Yeah.
So we do need a couple amendments, like,
Just
you know.
not enough people said anything about it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they
that's the
were
whole
mostly
thing.
slave owners.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we're not going to mess with
Have you
that.
guys
Leave that
heard
out. Leave-
of the 13th Amendment? Like, have you heard how slavery is actually still going on in the United States?
Really? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It's just
shit,
more
there's
covert, but there's a lot
tons
of
of
slavery.
slaves.
like
Yeah.
like wage slaves. Oh yeah, like the Chinese people being
Wage,
brought
sex
in and-
slaves.
yeah.
I mean, there's thousands and thousands of people in
yeah,
Yeah.
slavery.
Well, all our prisons,
yeah.
they
basically-
Nike,
that's-
Victoria's Secret, like all these big brands, they're
they hire prisoners.
they're manufactured by prisoners. Yeah,
Really?
a lot of them.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
They pay those guys in pennies, literally. They get paid like 5
Yeah.
cents an hour, bro. Like, that's
And think of the people that are innocent who got,
Yeah.
you know, are in prison. That's
Yeah.
horrible.
yeah. I mean, the prisons
if
themselves
you were
are
in-
owned by private corporations.
I have some uncles that were in prison. If you were in prison and you had absolutely nothing to do day after day after day, wouldn't you rather work just for something to do?
Yeah, I guess that's the whole
No,
idea,
no matter if
right?
you're paid or not. I
Yeah.
think I would. I think
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than
But
just
I
sit
would
in my
much
cell and
prefer
look at the
being a
wall.
free person versus
Well, yeah.
being in a
Yeah, ideally,
cell.
sure, ideally. But if you had to be
no
there,
women at all. Unless you're
Yeah.
in a women's prison.
no, oh yeah,
And that
they have
sounds
women
horrible
in
too.
men's prison. I didn't know that.
Only the guards.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Prison's
we
something I
talking about?
wouldn't want to.
Oh yeah. There was this thing I wanted to share with you guys. So I was like watching a video talking about like an actual like better. It's like the actual translation of the Bible, right? And what's really interesting, this blew my mind, right? Adam, right? In the original like Latin text, I think, or in the original text,
Mhm.
you know, like it got, well, there, it wasn't Adam, it was the Adam, right?
Mhm.
And the word Adam,
Yeah.
it referred to all of humanity, right? So like, so like when you read the Bible, it's like God created all of mankind. He created the Adam, right?
Right.
He molded, and it even has that word. He didn't create Adam. He molded Adam. He molded the Adam. So, you
Yeah.
know, and like,
Well,
yeah.
that's
these ancient
interesting.
That's
texts,
like-
these ancient texts have been revised over and over and over again. Can you imagine somebody asked you to write the Quran from memory, and so you could pass it on to your family or something? You would sort of, say that do it the best you could, but there could be some parts that were changed or left out, or
Yeah, I don't know.
or
Honestly,
added.
like I did a bunch of research on that, and what's really
Mhm.
interesting, because like one thing about like the Quran is like, they're like, it hasn't been changed at all, right? And it's been like basically
Yeah.
been recited. But here's the thing. Here's the very interesting thing. The actual Quran that we have today was actually compiled 20 years after the death of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Right, I have to say peace be upon him because I'm afraid if I don't,
Yeah.
it's like I'm giving up on my religion. You know what I mean?
So
Like,
you
I
don't
have
think
to-
it changed?
So here's
you
the
don't think
thing.
it
Here's the
changed
thing.
at all?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
I thought it did change. I thought like I went and I looked at it. So here's like I was like, bro, there's no way like it had to have been changed, right? So they actually found these actual texts, right? They're called the Sinai Scrolls. They were found in Yemen. And what's interesting
yeah.
is that they have like a version of the Quran, but it was like kind of like erased. And then they have another version of the Quran, right? And but here's the thing,
Yeah.
like the versions aren't different versions of the Quran. They're different versions of the Quran in the sense where like you'll have a period here or like an accent there. You know what I mean? Or like
Okay.
you know what I mean? Because like what's
Yeah.
very interesting is the actual culture of Arabia, right? If you, I like to compare it in a sense to the old Greek culture, because in Arabia they didn't read or write. Everything was passed down orally. And I know, like, like this sounds kind of like, there's no way they could have, but they actually did. They were able to preserve things orally. It was a big, because they didn't read or write, and everything was orally, and people, it wasn't like today. Back then, like, it was like a normal thing. Like, everyone would do it. It was kind of like doing what we do today, right? So they recited things, they memorized things orally. It was very important. And then here's it turns out, the Quran like hasn't been changed. Like I was surprised. I was like, like it's impossible. But bro, all the evidence kind of points to the fact that it hasn't been changed in the sense, bro. Like, think of the Iliad or the Odyssey, right? The Iliad and the Odyssey are actually Greek, right? But if you actually look at the history of it, it was only like in recent and kind of like civilized Greek society where they were actually compiled into a book. But the actual story of the Iliad and the Odyssey was recited and passed down from generations, right? And it's like the same story. So anyway, I'm kind of like going off, but I just a very interesting thing that, like, I don't think it's been changed, man. Like, that's like, it blew my mind.
If they're translated from, but when they're translated from one language to another, I think
that's the problem.
There's some things that there aren't words for. There aren't words for that, so they have to use something kind of.
But here's the thing: Arabic, it hasn't changed.
Arabic hasn't
literally,
changed,
bro. If it wasn't for Islam and the Quran, bro, Arabic would be gone. Like, the language would be dead.
Yeah.
It would just be like another, it would be gone. Like, it would be completely gone. But so in a sense, I kind of like to think that maybe that's why the reason Islam was like put on earth, or whatever happened in that cave to preserve Arabic. Maybe maybe that's all religions are, to like preserve a language. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's interesting. What were you saying? Sorry, man, I kind of went off on a tangent.
That's okay. I said it. You were going to change the subject or get back to globalism or something.
Yeah, globalism. All right, guys, the verdict's in. What do you think? Yay or nay?
I don't know. I don't know enough
yay
about
yay
what it
nay.
is.
You can't say I don't know. There's yay or nay. Come on.
No, I don't know. I'll log out now.
No.
Oh.
All right. We'll just say that as a hey. We'll leave that as a
hey. I really gotta go though.
All right. See you, Oli.
Love you guys.
Thanks.
See you later.
Love
Bye.
you too. Have a
Bye,
great
Oli.
rest of your day.
Thanks for the talk.
Yeah, okay, bro. Yo, let's see, me and you, bro.
I say.
What do you say? Yay or nay,
I
bro?
say no.
I say no. No.
Nah.
Nah, bro.
Nine.
Globalism ain't gonna work around here. You globalists
Schlecht.
out there? Rah. Yo, I'm over here beside my fireplace. Here's our fireplace with my self-transforming machine elf friend, WooferBlast. Yeah, culture's really important. Preserve the culture that you know. Love your people. Love yourself.
And share your culture with other people.
Yeah, it's really important. Like,
Yes.
we need you out here. Come on. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. We're gonna keep ourselves warm beside this fire and wish you guys a WooferBlast. What do we wish our wonderful viewers?
Thanks for coming. And don't forget next week to come to the WooferBlast. No, wait, that's the wrong show. The Somnium Show.
Yeah, the
that's
Somnium
right.
Show.
With UltraLord
and tomorrow
myself.
we're gonna be learning about. What did you say, bro? Like, you were like chill, like forestry.
Shinrin Ryoku.
Yeah,
it's
what
called
is that?
forest bathing. It's more or less just. It's real simple. It's just a greater appreciation of the wilderness and about nature, and how to connect more with nature. It's sort of a meditation.
Yeah, so tune in for that tomorrow, and we're going to be having jokes on you. More awesome things coming. I'm going to give you a kiss. Have a wonderful night. Yeah.
Bye-bye.